All right.
Okay, I had a pre-calc teacher in high school, and she was one of my favorite math teachers because she was really energetic about her subject, and she knew what she was talking about, and she'd been teaching for a long time, and she just kind of made it fun. And I think when teachers can make the material that they're teaching fun, it really helps the students learn better. And this was the case for me, and it motivated me to pursue a career in math because I'm studying to be an engineer. I've taken many math classes myself, and I can tell you that there are tons of teachers out there, and all of them have different teaching styles, and different schools have different curriculums and guidelines for how they teach math. And I've taken almost all of them a very different way. I'm sure all of you have taken math classes, and I bet most of you were glad when you got to college and realized that you only had to take one or two math classes, and that was it, and you were done with math, you know. But this leads me to my point that America needs to elevate the importance of math in our education to remain a foremost world power in today's technologically advanced society. And my 3 points are, I will explain how this is a problem, and then I will evaluate some policies that are currently being used to combat this issue, and then I will explain a policy of what I think should work. My first point is America is falling behind in math compared to other countries, and this leaves us at a significant disadvantage in comparison to them because they will have technologies that are more advanced than ours, and we will rely on other countries to further our technology. Alan Ornstein of St. John's University has a quote saying, comparatively, U.S. students consistently score on average achievement tests below other industrialized nations, despite the fact that we spend more money on education than all of the other countries except Switzerland. This shows that we are putting a lot of effort into our students, and we're not getting much return. We're giving these schools a lot of money, but they're not raising the bar for our students. They're not increasing their test scores, I guess. And this is a bad thing. One result of this is that we are not producing as many STEM degrees as Western Europe and Asia. And STEM is science, technology, engineering, and mathematics. And the fact that we have lower test scores in math and not as many students graduating with math-related degrees shows that our country is just, we're turning our backs on math. Seems like we don't like it anymore or something. It's not a good thing. Another result is NASA has had to close down its space shuttle program because of lack of funding, and this shows that we were more willing to spend money elsewhere rather than on our space program, which has been one of our cornerstone things since the 1960s. And this is the thing that's been motivating our country, and we were the first country in space, I believe, or to have one of our astronauts in space. So I think closing this down was a bad idea because we need to raise the bar to keep our math scores up. Our government is trying to combat this issue of low math and science-related degrees and scores. The first thing they're trying to do is they have STEM-focused schools where they have like dual enrollment in college, where they're still in high school and they're enrolled in college. They have AP and IB courses where you can take a class that'll give you credit towards your high school degree and some college units at the same time. Or early college entrance, where you can get your GED early and then just enter college at a younger age, so you can start working towards your professional degree sooner. And like online courses. Students who attended these STEM-related schools, on average, perform better than their peers in mathematics, reading, and English on like finals and stuff. So it shows that they retain their knowledge better in not just math classes. So these schools were designed to increase people's willingness to learn math, and they're also helping in other subjects, so this is a very good thing. Another thing that the government is trying to do is cognitively focused instruction. This is typically done like early on, like in elementary school, and this is when they focus on low achieving students with like memory difficulties, and then they try to improve their memory difficulties to in turn turn them from like a low achieving student to a high achieving student, or just like an average student, so they don't feel left out or below the rest of the class. I think that all high schools should raise their required level of math for graduating, because if we have a higher standard, the students will have to abide by a higher standard to be able to learn more. And this will, I think that we should raise the math to like our requirement for English, because you have to have an English class all 4 years, but you're not required to have a math class all 4 years. I think that doesn't sound right to me. I think we need to have a math class, even if it's just slightly above or just a little bit different way of looking at math classes they've taken before. And or at least all public schools should base their curriculum off of what the STEM style schools are doing. In conclusion, America is turning its back on math, which is the heart of all technology that we know and love. As a result, NASA has closed down its space shuttle program due to lack of funding and interest. At the same time, we are scoring lower than other developed countries on math and science. To combat this, we are trying to teach in different ways and offer different programs to change our way of thinking about math. I hope that you all have a better understanding of our mathematical crisis and look at math not as a necessary evil, but instead a cornerstone of our society.
I did, and you just missed, by the way, the person you were supposed to do your evaluation on.
Oh no!
Duh.
Well, maybe we could switch around a little bit and see if there's somebody else who's able to change. Let me see here. Jesus, are you here?
Yes.
Oh, can you just give us some insight? I know you weren't expecting to, but maybe you could give us the insight on Patrick's speech, and then I'll put Alex in the other spot. I know it put you on the spot a little bit. Just do the best you can.
Want me to go right now?
Yeah.
He had a pretty good intro with, he gave us the different situation of what's going on with math and how we're falling behind with it. I like how he was pretty structured. He had a good structure when he's going to tell us what points he's going to give, and in his body he gave us the points of how we're falling behind and how we have to rely on other countries and what we should do to help that. And yeah, he made a lot of eye contact with us. He's pretty good. Pretty good.
Okay. All right. Thank you. I'm glad that you're able to step in and do that. That'll balance things out a little bit. I like the opening story, the beginning, the personal story. I think that is always a good way to get people involved because you're telling them something from your own heart, your own experience. And I thought that you made a good transition to the topic and let us know generally where you were going. You had a very clear statement of what the structure was going to be, so that was fine. I did think that the way you stated the supporting points is a little obvious. In other words, your transitions need to be a little bit smoother when you're setting up the preview statements. The language on it could be a little bit more polished. You got all the technical stuff right, so it's structured. I know what the main points are going to be, but it really sounds like you're kind of checking off as you're going through it. Okay, structure, main point 1, main point 2, main point 3, and you want it to sound a little bit more natural. So that's something that takes a little bit extra polish. So you've got the basics down, now you just need to polish it up a little bit so it doesn't sound quite as obvious. I think you had pretty good information about the declining math scores. I think that's okay. The issue about the space shuttle, I think you could tell that in a more interesting way. For instance, the notion that currently if we want to get from Earth to the space station, we have to, we're out there a bunch of hitchhikers, hoping that the Russians got space for us on their vehicles so that we can ride up with them. And, that would be that's a nice emotional appeal here. Go, wait a second, we got to hitchhike with somebody else to get to the space station that we basically built? That doesn't sound right. And I think that people would get more emotionally involved with that. And the notion that you were talking about is that it's not so much that we don't have the science and technology to do it, but we've not emphasized those kinds of things enough. We're not spending the money. We've had cutbacks. We're spending money on all these other kinds of things. And I think you can maybe talk about some of the things that we've spent money on that perhaps are not quite as important as this is, and we don't see the importance of that. So I felt like that part of the argument needed a little bit more development. On the other hand, I like the solutions that you talk about. You mentioned the STEM degrees, and you talk about schools that emphasize these STEM kinds of programs, and you discuss their success. I do think that you could use a little bit more information to show that those STEM schools are as successful as you're saying they are. The suggestion about an extra year of math in high school is a very practical suggestion, probably something that would be relatively easy to do. One of the things that would be helpful would be, would that extra year make a difference? Would it, put us back, toward the top of the pile? Would it make it easier for people to choose a STEM degree when they go to college, that sort of thing? If there was any data that showed that that extra year makes a difference, that would be really helpful. On the delivery issues, I think you do a very nice job. Look, you look at us the whole time. You look at your notes occasionally just to see what the next point is or for a piece of information, but you're not reading to us, you're talking to us, and I think that that's exactly what you need to do. I don't want to be accused of stereotyping all those math people, but you do need a little bit more energy in your voice. You've got a narrow range that you're operating in, and I think you need to use a little bit more, a little bit more emphasis here and there, and I know you're capable of doing that. All right, thank you.